Hey everybody, Mike Molina here. It is Friday, September 1st. Happy Labor Day weekend. I hope you have great plans. So I want to take a look at the markets and what's happening today, and then go into just a little bit of detail as to why I want to help you frame your narrative with your clients and your prospects, and that's what this video is all about. So here's the bad news, a slight uptick in the 10-year Treasury, which interest rates tend to follow. It's not a serious uptick. We're still below this 4.2 threshold here. We don't want to cross above that. We're trying to get down to at or below this 4.0 threshold, which will help send us into lower rate territory, but we're not there yet. I'm going to explain why this is happening in just a minute, but the effect is that rates have gone up a little bit today to 6.99% with a 1 point cost for a 30-year fixed. So what's going on? Well, first, let's talk about what happened yesterday with the release of the inflation report. The Fed's favorite measurement of inflation was released yesterday, and it ticked up to 3.2. Now, what these numbers are, here we have 2019, 2020, 2021, 22, and year-to-date 2023. This is the rate of inflation. It is not inflation itself. It's the rate of inflation annualized. So as you can see, ever since the Fed started aggressively raising the Fed funds rate, the rate of inflation has been going down. And last month in June, the report came out and it dropped a whole 1% from 4.0 in May to 3.0% in June, and everybody was celebrating. And because we ticked up 0.2% this month, that is being interpreted as in a negative light, as you might expect. Not looking at the overall trend, because everything in the economy ebbs and flows, so it's taken in, of course, the worst possible light, and so that has not been positive. Now, just to give you an example, I want to highlight an example for you, because you need this information so you can frame your narratives with your prospects and clients. So you may recall back when Silicon Valley Bank imploded, taking about 4 other banks with it. A month before that, Jim Cramer here from CNBC, I'm not trying to pick on Jim, but it's a great example of what's going on. 1 month before then, here you can see Silicon Valley Bank. He was saying, there's a lot of red flags going on, a lot of people saying things, but I think it's actually very compelling and you should buy the stock. So even though there was a whole lot of things telling people, that analysts that, hey, there's some concerns here with Silicon Valley Bank, he got up there and said, you should buy it anyway. And we all know what happened next. And a lot of people lost a lot of money, and that's unfortunate. So, again, not trying to pick on him, but I say this because yesterday, after the inflation report came out, CNBC hosted 2 experts, one from Stifel and another one from Morning Consult. You probably don't know who those names are, but in the finance world, they're very well known. And the analyst from Stifel said, hey, this uptick in the rate of inflation means that the Fed should continue to hike rates, which is really just the worst possible advice that anybody could give, because they're not giving, remember my analogy of the medicine, you don't want to overdose the patient, they're not giving the medicine the necessary time to kick in. So that was one bad thing, so keep that in mind. Then the other analyst from Morning Consult actually said that she believes that inflation is going to continue to be high and even grow because of the housing market and how expensive homes are. The really, really scary part of that is that there is no measurement of the rate of inflation in which home prices are included. Inflation measures the cost of goods and services. It doesn't include the cost of homes, which is an investment, an asset above all else. So it would be like trying to say that, a CD that you bought this year for $10,000 is more expensive than a CD you bought last year for $5,000. That just doesn't track. So just keep that in mind. And you might actually hear that people voicing concerns about buying a house because, the housing market is driving up inflation. They're not connected. So please know that. And I just wanted to highlight that because that is such an excellent illustration of how the news media just continues to get it wrong, and it seems like everything they put out is negative. And there is a lot of negative, to be sure, but it needs to be taken in context, because one way or the other, rates are coming down, and they're either going to come down the slow and steady path, which is where I hope will happen, which is where the Federal Reserve just takes the foot off the gas and lets the economy do what the economy does and self-correct over time. They've applied the medicine, they just need to let it kick in. Or they're going to do what it sounds like they might be more inclined to do, which is to continue to hike rates and drive us right into a recession, in which case rates will be coming down pretty darn quick. So one way or the other, rates are coming down. It's just a matter of what path we're going to take. So today, jobs report came out, and as I've mentioned before, the Fed is looking at job creations as an inflationary concern. And again, the framing of the media is so important. And not only the media, I don't want to blame just the media, but as with every other administration that's ever existed, this administration has a certain narrative that it wants to put out there. And right now it's taking a victory lap around the country, talking about how great the economy is and all the jobs they're creating. So what you hear every month on the news is the jobs report that's been created. What you don't hear is the follow-up revisions later, okay? So in June, 209,000 jobs were reported as being created, and there were, ticker tape parades in the streets and fireworks everywhere, right? What you didn't hear about was the revision that the government later on did of 104,000 jobs down. So the net jobs creation for June was actually 105. Similar story with July, 187,000 being reported as created, but after the revisions, it was really a net of 157. And today, 187 jobs were reported as being created. The expectation was 170. So again, this was seen as inflationary, and the market reacted not so great, but it didn't overreact, thankfully. So what I want you to see with that is that you're hearing one thing on the news about how much jobs are being created, but if you look at the jobs created after all the revisions, okay, the 3-month average of jobs being created is 150. The 6-month average is 194. The 12-month average is 257. And going all the way back to 2022, the average was about 400,000. So the average number of jobs being created per month, as you shorten the time period that you average over, you can see that the number of jobs being created is actually going down quite significantly. And people on employment, less than 5 weeks, that's increased by 217,000 people last month. People on unemployment for 5 to 14 weeks is increased by 179,000, and over 27 weeks that they've been on unemployment increased by 132,000. So people are staying on unemployment longer, even though we're being told that there's all these jobs that are being created, and the average number of jobs after revisions is actually going down on a monthly basis. This is why I say context matters, and it's very important to see through what's being reported, because they get these experts, so-called experts, on TV, and they just say things, and it's an unfortunate thing that so many Americans get their financial news from CNBC and other experts, and they're just not getting it right. So, for whatever that's worth. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I hope you find that information useful as you construct your narratives with your prospects and your clients. If you're watching on YouTube, and I hope you are, please be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you can, share the video with a friend, and have a safe and wonderful holiday weekend. Take care.